Hi everyone! Today I will demonstrate how to easily migrate your classic Azure Cache for Redis before it's too late. Here you can see the list of my Azure Cache for Redis instances, and this cache needs to be migrated before the service is retired on August 31st, 2024. If you don't migrate before that time, your caches will be migrated automatically, which might sound okay. But if you wait, you will have downtime that you will not be able to control, and you'll also lose all the data within your cache. So basically you have two options when it comes to migrating your classic cache. The manual way, which I'll show you in a moment, or the automated way that you can kickstart by opening up a support ticket with Azure or contacting the product group by email at azurecachemigration@microsoft.com, which is linked in the description below this video. The biggest benefit to the automated way is that your cache will keep the same hostname and access keys, so you won't have to make any changes to your applications that leverage this cache. The downside is that your cache will have 30 minutes of scheduled downtime, and all the data on your cache will be lost during the migration. But I will show you how to export and import the data in case you need it. So here in the list of Azure Cache instances, you can just click the Create button at the top left. Now let's select a resource group to deploy this new instance in. Then you can select a DNS name. This will actually be the new host name for my Redis cache. So just remember to use something that matches your naming convention and makes sense to you. Select the region where this new instance will be created. Now you can select your tier. Here I'll just match what I had in my original cloud services cache. I'll leave this as a public instance, so it will have a public endpoint. However, if you do decide to create this on your end, just make sure that you respect whatever policy that you have in your enterprise. So you would be able to use a private endpoint or use a virtual network injection here, whatever makes sense in your use case. Then we can just click Review and Create. And once the validation is passed, we just click the Create button. So now that the new cache is created, we can go ahead and create a temporary storage account that we can use to store the exported data from our classic cache. You can also use an existing storage account that's in your subscription if you have one available, so that's up to you. In this particular example, I'll create one from scratch. I'll reuse the same resource group where we created the cache, give the storage account a name, and select the region where you want this to live. I also suggest switching to locally redundant storage. It will incur less cost, and redundancy is not that critical in this case, since this will only be used once for this migration. Click the Review button at the bottom, and then click the Create button once the validation is passed. Now that our storage account has been created, we can move on to exporting the data from our classic cache instance. In the search bar at the top, type Azure Cache, select Azure Cache for Redis. Now from the list of resources, you can click on the classic cache that you want to migrate from, scroll down in the left menu to the administration section, and click Export Data. Here I just enter a blob name prefix, which will help me find the data in the storage account. I'm just exporting one cache here, but you may want to export the data from multiple caches to the same storage account, so this will help you stay organized. Then click here to choose your storage container and pick the storage account that you just created. You need to create a new container to hold the exported data within that storage account. Give the container a name and click Create at the bottom. Now click the new container that you just created and click Select at the bottom. Now you just need to click the Export button, and you will see a notification that the export is in progress. How long this takes will depend on the size of your cache, and once you get the notification that the export is complete, you can move on to importing this data into the new cache. Now to the complete left of the screen, click on the new cache that we created earlier, and scroll down to the same administration section where we went when we exported the data, and click the Import Data. Click to select an RDB file, and select the storage account where you exported the data to. And select your container, and check the box next to your RDB file, and click Select at the bottom. Now you can click Import. Once the operation is done, your cache is ready to go. Now the only thing remaining is to update your existing applications to reflect this new hostname and access keys for your newly created cache. I will show you how to quickly do this in a sample web application that I already have running on Azure App Service and configured to connect to my classic cache. Here is my sample Redis application that reads and writes data from my classic cache. First of all, in the context of my newly created cache resource, I can just click on the access keys option in the left menu, I can now click to copy the primary connection string to the clipboard because we'll be needing this to update the application. Now I'll navigate to my Azure web app by searching for App Service in the top search bar and clicking on the Azure web app that I want to update. I need to scroll down in the left menu and click on Environment Variable Options. I can see that I have an app setting here named Cache Connection that will need to be updated because it currently contains the connection string to my classic cache. Here I can just replace the current setting value with the connection string to my new cache that I copied to the clipboard in the previous step, and I can click the button to apply the settings at the bottom left. Then I can go back to my application, refresh the page, and see that it's still working, but it is now safe to delete the classic cache resource. And now you're done. So remember that the deadline is August 31st, 2024 to migrate the cache, so please complete this migration before then. Once you are done, I think you should watch this video next, and have a great day.